It is 10 o'clock at night, which is the best time to be starting projects, and the big project of the hour is the Park Avenue Ultra. I'm finally working on my Christmas present again from Hoovy's Garage. I love this car, which is why it gets the primo parking here in the garage, but it has been a little bit sick lately. It's been running with some ridiculous fuel trims, 15% added fuel. And normally when a car adds that much fuel, it's because it's reading lean, like a vacuum leak or something like that. But we determined that that really isn't the case. It has had an exhaust leak that's been progressively getting worse, and we believe it is the rear manifold gasket going to the block, and that's just upstream of this car's only primary O2 sensor, so the extra oxygen getting sucked in there is throwing off the readings and causing the car to run excessively rich, which is why I'm getting 9 miles per gallon. So, because it's a transverse V6, it's pretty much the worst job ever. Shoot, there was something else that I was going to mention.
God bless editing.
The gasket blowing out probably seems like coincidence, but I think it's just from increased exhaust back pressure because we're running more boost through the engine, which means higher volumetric efficiency, which means every exhaust pulse is going to contain more, well, exhaust, and so you're going to have higher exhaust pressures, and this car still has cats and all that stuff, so higher pressure probably just blew out the 230,000 mile and 19-year-old gaskets, decided that they were done with life. It happens. So what all has to happen here is that this crossover pipe going from the front to the rear bank of cylinders has to come out, and of course, being a GM product from the early 2000s, everything is super easy to get to, and then there's EGR shenanigans that have to come off, and then of course the actual downpipe and whatnot that's back there. And do those coolant lines have to come off?
We're not going to take them off.
We're not gonna. Okay.
Same reason I'm not going to take the throttle body off, because it's a pain in the butt. It's going to destroy your gasket. You'll lose some coolant.
Harbor Freight dangly light for the win. Battery life ain't great, but you know, better than nothing. So while this is going on, let's just take a quick look at the rest of the fleet. Festiva doing okay, but I saw a piece lying on the ground near it. It was this piece, part of the battery tie down actually, which appears to have broken in half. Oh my god. The rubber just decided that it doesn't want to live anymore, so we'll fix that real quick as well. Other than the Festiva, the other thing going on tonight is way up here in the front garage. But we've got the inside in here. It has the other primo parking spot tonight because it threw the IMA light. So we are giving the battery a good charge here. This is a Genesis 1 grid charger, pretty much one of the best on the market. I'm not sure if they actually sell these anymore. The batteries in these Honda Insights are NiCad, and they don't really have a battery management system. Modern LiPo packs or LifePo or whatever generally have sensors that can tell what each of the cells is doing and balance the pack accordingly. When it charges, it will sort of shunt the power to the lowest cells to make sure they all charge evenly and they all get up to full. This doesn't have that. The cells just charge and decharge at their own rates, and if some of the cells wear out a little bit unevenly, some of them get lower than the others, they can drag the whole pack down with them, and then you get these lights. Now, the upshot of this is that you can get these grid chargers which charge it up and then overcharge it at a very slow amperage, making sure to maintain a specific temperature that doesn't damage the cells, but they are indeed being overcharged, and that excess charge gets bled off as heat, I believe. And the result of that is that the healthy cells get charged and then they start generating heat as they overcharge, while the slower cells just get charged, and then it brings everything up to that level. And what you can also do is you can get the discharge modules, which is just a big shop light, and it'll run that light and it'll bring it way down to like 40 volts and then charge it back up to 170 volts. And it'll do that a few times just to make sure that all the cells are in sync. And that's kind of how you can rejuvenate these old packs, just by making sure to exercise the slower cells that might be causing issues. And if you start to have problems beyond that, you can just go on eBay and you can buy some new cells. You take the whole pack out and you stick a meter on each stick. These are like sticks of D-cell sized NiCads. You take a stick out, measure the voltage, do that for all of them. The ones that are low you replace, or you can actually run them each individually through a charge-discharge cycle with like an RC car battery charger, and you can figure out their actual capacity that way, and then you just replace the low capacity ones. Who knows? I absolutely love this thing. Everyone's gonna say K-swap it. Those people are idiots. The best part of this car is the cool hybrid system, and I'm going to retain that until I decide to do something completely different, but it is not going to be a K-swap. It's not going to be any sort of combustion engine swap. This car is super cool, futuristic technology, and it is going to stay that way. This is not K-swap a CRX. Stop K-swapping Insights. They are too cool for that. Obviously, the best way to fix this would be just to, you know, buy another one or buy a new rubber strip, but I'm not gonna do that. You know what? That's not bad. I think I'll take that. Still got the rubber there to actually isolate the battery. Don't want to like damage it any. Zip ties to hold it all together, and the universal plumber's strap. Let's go stick this back on the Festiva. And there it is. Hey, she's not perfect, but who of us can claim to be? Yeah, that looks uncomfortable. Good news though, the EGR, which here it is. EGR pipe is in good shape. That was the other thing that we were kind of worried that it could be, because that also absolutely sucks to fix. Crossover's out though. You can see there's the front manifold. A lot of people replace this front manifold with what's called a power log, and then there's the crossover, and some people get a ceramic coated crossover, which there's the crossover, and I believe that's for heat management, to like keep it from cooking the trans as much. And there's the rear crossover attachment pipe thing. Goes to the rear manifold and then to the downpipe. And out the back of the car. Yeehaw. Hey, you know what? We'll be able to get my my lost O2 sensor socket back if it's still there. It's like stuck on the subframe underneath the rear exhaust manifold. This is sort of the pivotal moment. We've got an impact way down in there, and we got to try and actually get the nuts off. Are they nuts or bolts?
Nuts, but they usually pull the whole stud.
Right. Yeah, so this is why I'm not doing this, because that right there is murder on my back. And I did an amount of yard work today, so I'm out for the next week or two. My compressor is the $100 investment that just keeps on giving, because we are using this adorable Flexilla Stubby half-inch. Is this a half-inch? Yes. I am the tired. That looks like it might get us. It has enough torque even with my little absolutely terrible coiled hose, but we need to go get an extension, which means that we're going to do one more quick project because the BMW needs license plate lights. Oh, that's just depressing. Must be directional. That is a crusty socket. There we go. Much better. Would you agree that I need a lift?
Wouldn't hurt.
Yeah. Hey, do we need more light? I just realized I can provide way more light. Hang on, I'm gonna turn on my light machine. There we go. Wow, it does nothing useful. Listen to the idle speed. Status report. The exhaust manifold is loose, but kind of just stuck in there by all of that. The gasket is out though, and good news, it looks to be in great shape. But bad news, it looks to be in great shape. There's still no smoking gun for our leak. Oh, it just comes right out.
Yeah.
We found my O2 sensor socket. It was crammed between the engine and the transmission, so once we got the O2 sensor out comes our boy here. The while we're in there list continues to grow. We took the front manifold off, which was of course super easy to get to. Battery came out, goofy heat shield, some other stuff, but it's over here. And I ended up taking the ye olde death wheel and hacking some chunks out of these little connecting pieces here, because This is a cast iron piece. When it gets hot, it expands and contracts, and you can end up with cracks right in, I believe, these areas from different rates of expansion happening. These cuts will allow the ports themselves to expand and contract and move with the rest of the manifold. Most modern cars are like this. I have no idea why these are connected. It makes no sense. It's extra material that actually ends up causing problems instead of solving them. But yeah, like the headers on my BMW are like that. Most modern cars see enough thermal expansion that they have divorced ports, flanges, I don't know, whatever. It's done. Now we've got our new gasket over here somewhere. Felpro, good stuff, ready to go on. And hopefully this car will be leak-free for a long time. That is kind of nice, isn't it? Huh. Yeah, I dig that. Exciting things happening. The front manifold is back on. EGR stuff is going back into place. The rear manifold is half bolted up, right?
It's done.
Oh, rear manifold is...
It's not bolted to the downpipe.
Yeah. Okay, rear manifold's bolted to the block then. So this is actually quite close. Battery's back. But also, I went off and did another project entirely because I noticed my mower was not stopping when I released the handle. Whatever it is that grounds out the coil, and I couldn't understand. I took everything apart, tried to figure out how the mechanism worked, hit it with a multimeter, cleaned it. I couldn't make it work again, so instead I just installed, and by installed I mean zip-tied, this switch here, except that off is, so to start it, you switch it to off, and then to stop it, you switch it to on. You know, it makes sense, but it works. And we've got this tasteful green wire running everywhere now, just to really accentuate how much of a Frankenmower this is. And I only spilled a whole bunch of gas because I accidentally unhooked the fuel tank on accident. Look at that arrangement.
500 milliamp.
That is an amazing sound.
I swear I hear a vacuum leak. It seems like it's kind of hanging, but I don't know. Do you hear something missing?
Yeah. But here's the really important part. Really low fuel trims. Look at that. It's pretty much as perfect as you can get. This thing is going to run so much better now. Oh, I'm excited. I need to get some other stuff out of the way so that we can get this thing out on the road. We went on a test drive and there's good news and bad news. First, the good news. My fuel trims are a lot better now and you can't hear an exhaust leak anymore. It no longer sounds like a 1980s Chevy sitting there going tick, 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 which is fantastic. The bad news is my fuel trims are still high. They're still pretty bad. I think we've got a vacuum leak to go along with our exhaust leak. I didn't hear a vacuum leak before, but I definitely hear one now. That may have been because the exhaust leak was masking it, or maybe somehow we caused one. Nothing got removed. You know, no vacuum accessories or the throttle body or anything like that actually came off the car during this process, but it does seem to have a vacuum leak now. What I've tried is, you know, we sprayed starting fluid all over the place with the car running, could not find any change in idle anywhere. I unplugged and capped off every single vacuum line on the car and nothing. So it seems to be coming from the throttle body area, so maybe the throttle body gasket just went bad, or maybe it's the lower intake manifold. I replaced the lower intake manifold gaskets and torqued them back to the factory spec, but the factory spec is for the factory gaskets, and I used metal Felpro gaskets as replacements, and apparently those prefer a little bit more torque. So hopefully that's not it, because it means the supercharger and the belt and all kinds of stuff has to come back off, and not looking forward to if I have to take that off again. But let me start the car up real quick, and we can listen to this vacuum leak real quick. I have ordered a smoke machine. It should be here later this week, and then I can smoke test the intake, and hopefully we'll know for sure where my leak is coming from. There we go. Maybe a little difficult to hear, but there is a definite hiss coming from that area, and it's not, I don't think it's the idle air control valve. That's known to make more of a really large whoosh. You hear it a bunch. You probably heard it there on that cold start, where it was just this big sucking sound. So next episode with this car, we'll throw the smoke tester on it, and we'll see what we see, I guess. Hopefully there's a smoking gun, literally. Well, not a gun, but a smoking vacuum line or something, and we can figure out what this needs to be back to 100%, and hopefully I can get some of my fuel economy back. Thanks for watching.